Hello friends, my name is Stephanie. Welcome. Today is the day to illustrate. Yes, we are illustrating today, so get your cup of coffee, get your cup of tea, get whatever, your laptop, your tablet, and come draw with me, illustrate with me. So today I'm illustrating a cute New York townhome, New York style homes just for fun using Illustrator, and that's what we're doing today. Okay, so here's my mood board for today. Yes, I use a mood board pretty much for everything. This helps me understand and visualize what I want to draw and the mood that this illustration should give off. And so when you look at my mood board, I have a lot of pastel colors. Yes, I wanted to do pastel colors, your blues, your pinks, your yellow tones, your orange tones. And the style of building that I wanted to illustrate was kind of like your New York townhome, your Amsterdam houses or Amsterdam little city, and kind of give up of that vibe of just a city, a neighborhood to walk around, not really many cars, something colorful and bright. So this is exactly what my illustration should potentially show. So now let's get into Illustrator, and right on Illustrator, I already have two photos together. I have a photo of a building and a photo of the top of one building mashed up together. Sometimes I'm not the best at starting an illustration, so it helps me to use reference photos. So reference photos are going to be your best friend if you really don't know how to draw. If you're just getting started, reference photos are your best friend. So right now, to get me started, I have two different buildings to make into one, and I'm just going to quickly sketch out the drawing so I kind of have an idea of how this building is supposed to look like. I am using my pen, so the sketches are a little bit weird, but then I go back and forth with my pen tool. Okay, so once I'm done sketching out the foundation of the building, I'm gonna go ahead and start shaping the windows using the square shape tool. And I'm also gonna go ahead and do the little balcony that's on the window and start building the arches and basically sketch out the frame of the door and the door itself. So again, I'm just going into the details, I'm going into the lines to make sure that everything's pretty much good. Now, the reason why I chose this illustration, or why I wanted to illustrate kind of your New York townhome, kind of like this idea and like your brownstone townhome in New York, it's because I've been dreaming of living in New York. I don't know why, I've always wanted to live in New York, but I never actually took the risk and moved to New York. But I always imagine like the movies, you know, you see those movies, they're walking out of their beautiful brownstone townhome in New York. I wanted to create that, to just live my fantasy for a little bit in illustration. So now that I've got all the lines figured out and I got everything situated and made my building more symmetrical, or I guess more linear, I'm gonna go and move on to my next building. So on my second building, I'm building the foundation with the squares first, obviously lining up with my building next to it because it's going to be attached. And again, I'm using the pen tool, so I'm literally freeballing right now. I'm just trying to get my thoughts organized and how I want this other building to look. So on this next building, of course, I'm adding that triangle that was on the brownstone townhome, but I'm creating it a little bit different, and I go back and forth, guys. I do go back and forth to realizing what I want this to look like. Maybe I want to add a different type of window instead of your regular square window. Maybe I can have an arch window. So it's really just playing with it and just having fun with it. All right, so we have the second building here. Now in this one, I started to add a circular window. I wanted to add a circular window to make it a little bit different. I do have more arches. Now, I don't know why, but this is really giving me church vibes. I don't like, you know, like in those old horror movies and they go visit an old church and it's like, this is a church. This is what it looks like. I don't know why. So I guess, you know, the next door neighbors are church people, church girls, I don't know. Okay, so we're pretty much done with the second building. I really like it. I opted for the horizontal lines, and now we're gonna move on and create our other two buildings. Now the other two buildings are gonna be cut off because you gotta visualize it like a poster. It is an illustration, and so the last two buildings are the easiest because you're not really completely making two whole buildings. You're just cutting it off to where the frame cuts off. Okay, now that we have all the buildings pretty much situated, now I'm gonna go in and add the details. And by details, I mean the lines of the roof or the shingles or whatnot. I'm just gonna add a little bit of texture, not really texture, it's just detail to the building to make it pop out more before we move into color. Okay, so these are my buildings so far right now that I've created. Of course, throughout the video, you might see me change it a little bit because it's always good to take a break and then come back and situate yourself and realize, oh, let me add this to this building, or let me add this or take this out. It always happens. So this is how I have it. In the back, I added the sky just to kind of give me sort of the color that I want for the sky so it can help me with my colors. Now, it's really nice to bring your color palette and some pictures of your mood board or your whole mood board into illustration so you kind of have an idea of the colors you want to add to the building. So I'm going to start off with that church looking building, and that one's going to be orange. I want to use orange, yellow, pink, and maybe blue or green because those are the main colors in my color palette and my mood board. So I'm just going and switching around with the buildings and adding the colors. Now windows are kind of hard for me because sometimes I like to do black windows, and so I did all black windows for this building, and then I realized it looked a lot like fall and like Halloween, which is great, I love it, but that's not the vibe we're going for. In our mood board, it's very summery, very pastel colors, very bright and sunshine, so I had to go and switch it. All right, so the next building that we're gonna go for is the yellow. We're going yellow because green and yellow together are good. Oh my gosh, she on X Games mode. Why is she coloring a brownstone townhome pink? Because I can, okay? A lot of my inspiration also came from Amsterdam. So if you look at Amsterdam, they have those beautiful, colorful buildings, and that's kind of what I wanted my neighborhood to look like. So yes, my brownstone townhome is gonna be pink. It's very therapeutic to color in your illustrations. Like once I have a sketch down and I start doing color, I love it. It relaxes me. I'm in the zone. I really like it. And I also like to play around with color. I like to see what looks good on it and, you know, how to create that shadow and that highlight. And it's just sweet. And ta-da! I told you I was going to change the colors. They're more pastel. The green ones were mint green. And I also changed the green roof. The roof was kind of like a weird triangle spiral shape, so I made it flat to the square shape. But of course, I added a dark green so you can kind of tell it's the roof. And I also added the tile on the green. I don't know why. I thought this was really good. Inspo from Tumblr, maybe. All right, so all the buildings are looking really good. They're looking fresh. I want to live here already. But I'm not done yet. I'm not done. You could be done. You can call it a day, but I want to add shadows and I want to add more detail and make it come to life a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding the shadows. Shadows are really easy. You just play around with the shapes and kind of literally copy it and darken it and then move it behind the layers. Okay, so we're moving on to the roof of the pink building. We're raising up the roof. Yes, technically we're not, but we are gonna add detail to the roof. I kind of want it to look like it has shingles or shingles. Am I saying that right? Shingles on the roof. And to do this, I'm taking my pen tool and I'm creating a rectangular shape, a long ways, kind of like copying the shape of the roof and then changing the shades of pink. So some shades are going to be darker, some shades are going to be lighter than the shade that's in the back, like the actual shade of the roof. So I'm just quickly doing that and going over it to kind of make it look like it has shingles, or it just looks, I don't know, when you zoom out it'll look a lot better. You'll see what I mean, but it's pretty easy. Just copy and paste once you make your pattern, and just copy and paste and align it to the roof. So I'm gonna do that with every single building. I'm gonna add a little bit of shade and a little bit of texture on the roof. And so for each single building, I'm gonna do that and then also finish up the shadows. Okay, so we're gonna pretend like the sun is on the right of the page and casting down. So your shadows are all gonna be pretty much facing left or on the left, if that makes sense, my left. So that's exactly what I'm doing on this building. Again, copying the shape and going right alongside of it and making the shade darker than the shade that's underneath it, if that makes sense. And by adding more to the building, I mean I'm gonna add reflections to the windows. Yes, adding reflections to the window is very easy. So basically I'm gonna take a rectangular or 3 rectangulars, a little bit thinner and thicker, different sizes, and they're gonna be all white, but then I'm gonna turn down the opacity, what language am I talking? I'm gonna turn it down to 40%. It's a little transparent that goes through the window, and this kind of make the illusion that there's a reflection or reflected rays of the sun on the window. And just repeating this process for each window. Now each window is going to have somewhat the same reflection or a little bit different depending on the size of the window and where it's located. All right, so fast forward now to so many hours of doing this. So again, I added the reflection and changed up the circular windows. I don't know if you can see them. Here they are. Look how beautiful they turned out. And as you can see, I also added a lot of flowers. I added flowers because flowers, they make the room come to life, okay? So if your apartment, your home feels very dull and very like, I need something to bring this room alive and like just feel good and whatnot, buy yourself some plants, some flowers. Even if they're fake, they're gonna make you feel good. They're gonna make the room look a lot better. So that's what I did for this illustration. Okay, so this is the final illustration. You guys made it. You made it all the way. I'm glad you did. It looks really good. I'm really proud of it. Overall, I do like how it turned out. I really hope you like it as well. And let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of it and what could I have done different and change it up or make it better. So yeah guys, that concludes today's video on this illustration of my fantasy world, my fantasy neighborhood. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day and I will see you on the next one. Bye.